Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, I had a voice for radio, so today I'm going to be showing you another fun new Pokemon from Sun and Moon. It's Araquanid. And before we go any further, can I give a shout out to whoever named this? Some of the naming in Pokemon is suspect. This is a water spider. Water aqua, spider Araquanid, Araquanid. Just beautiful, ladies and gentlemen. Now, he evolves from Dewpider, not as good. It's not as good. But Araquanid, I am absolutely loving it. So, what does he do? Well, he is a water type. He has 100 HP, which is a little bit annoying. It puts him just out of range of being able to use Level Ball. He has a retreat cost of 2, which is slightly higher than average. He has a weakness to grass, which could be a problem given that Pokemon like Lurantis are looking to be very good next format, or indeed when Sun and Moon comes out, mainly due to the card forest of giant plants. Now, the fact that he is a water Pokemon means that you can use Dive Ball to search both him and Dewpider out, which is quite cool. It means that you can use Splash Energy, so if he gets KO'd, you can have him right back again. It means you can use Rough Seas to heal 30 damage per turn from him. It means that you are hitting for weakness on fire Pokemon like Incineroar and Volcanion. Now, the attack here is not particularly good. You are doing 70 damage for free energy, which last I checked was not particularly good. Now, you can use a double colourless energy, but it's still 2 energy attachments, including a special energy, to do just 70 damage. Just a straight 70 damage. Not good. However, he has an ability. And clearly, everything I've said so far has not led you, I'm hoping, to believe that this is a Pokemon worth playing. But his ability, Blister, prevent all damage from attacks done to this Pokemon by your opponent's fire Pokemon. It just has immunity from fire Pokemon. Now, it can still get burned, for instance. It's only damage that it stops, not effects of attacks like burn, but it's invulnerable to fire Pokemon. This is absurd. You come across a fire deck, you get your Araquanid out, you sit laughing. Now, maybe they'll use something like a Shaman and go, ha ha ha, I will knock you out with my Shaman. Good work, mate. You're doing 30 damage with a Shaman, I'm healing 30 damage with Rough Seas, ha ha ha, ha ha ha. Now, this is not quite as straightforward as I've made out. Now, don't get me wrong, it is immense against fire decks. You hit for weakness, and you have immunity. But of course that immunity comes from an ability. And Hexmaniac and Garbodor will turn off this ability, meaning that fire Pokemon can KO you, and 100 HP is hardly amazing. But it is a stage 1, not a basic. And one day Hexmaniac and Garbodor will rotate, and as it stands at the moment, the only thing we will have left is Alolan Muck, which turns off the abilities of basic Pokemon, but not evolved Pokemon like Araquanid. Which means that in the future, he could be very, very good. I equate Araquanid to Pyroar. Pyroar, there was a time when the format was full of plasma Pokemon, and we didn't have Hexmaniac and Garbodor, so essentially what happened was that Pyroar would come up against a plasma deck and just sit there laughing, because they could do nothing. That is where Araquanid sits. Right now, at the moment, I am not a huge fan of Araquanid, because you know what? It doesn't do enough. It's amazing against fire decks, rubbish against everything else, and even pure fire decks. Like, for instance, Volcanion, that generally only have the attacking options of Volcanion and Volcanion EX, they're gonna play a Hexmaniac. Now, if they don't play a Hexmaniac, that's amazing. You get one Araquanid out and just sit there laughing. As a side note, when you're playing Araquanid, be very, very careful about what you bench, because if you bench too many non-Araquanids, your opponent can just use Lysander to pick Pokemon off your bench and just ignore Araquanid and take 6 prizes off of your bench. But Pyroar got rubbish. Okay. But there was a time when Pyroar was good, and that's what I see happening with Araquanid. When we get Hexmaniac and Garbodor rotated, this is an amazing, and I mean amazing tech against fire decks. Decks like Volcanion, decks like Incineroar. A single Araquanid could bring them to their knees. Now, maybe they have a non-fire attacker, okay. Maybe they play something like Oranguru, who could be really good. But that's a whole bunch of ifs, buts, and maybes. Araquanid is a very, very difficult card to actually sit and say how good it is, because it is so situational. If you come across someone who's playing a random deck of a whole bunch of stuff, including some Araquanids, you'll probably roll them. But if you're playing a Volcanion deck with no Hexmaniac and no backup attackers, and then you come across an Araquanid, well, now you've lost the game. Now, as a side note, Dewpider's got a fun little attack. 10 damage, flip a coin, if heads they are paralysed. It's a slightly better version of Froakies' bubble attack, and anyone who has played against, or seen played a Greninja deck in the recent past will know how good that can be. As it stands, I've got to give Araquanid one Wossie. It's not a good card. But if there is ever a situation where we don't have a way to turn off non-basic abilities, like when Hexmaniac and Garbodor rotate and we're left with Alolan Muck, then as a tech against fire decks, I give it 5 Wossies. It's an amazing tech against holy fire decks. So let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen. It's not an amazing card that you want to go out right now and build a deck around. But it is a card where you stick a couple in your binder and you wait, because one day there could be some situations where this card is just flat out amazing. Now, this is YouTube, ladies and gentlemen, so you know the deal. There is a comment section, go nuts, be nice. There are buttons to both like this video and subscribe to this channel. Might I kindly suggest that you use them both? You can follow me on Twitter @TheWassie, and the most important thing is and will always be that you look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio. Araquanid. Araquanid. Just say it a few times. It's a wonderful word. Araquanid.